Hello, welcome to Inside the Industry Unfiltered with myself, Adam Smith. Delighted to say back on the podcast again is regular guest and co-contributor Stuart Jones. Stu, you're looking dapper in blue today, mate.
Dapper in blue. We've coordinated.
We got the memo, didn't
it's
we?
Like we text each other, what are you wearing today?
Yeah, but usually that happens. You text someone to say so they don't wear the same thing.
Yeah.
It's good. Obviously,
No, we're both Coventry City fans today.
yeah.
Man
My
City.
good mate's a Cov fan, actually. I took him to the playoff final. Against Luton. He didn't enjoy it because they lost on penalties. We digress. You're back on because we spoke briefly. It wasn't briefly. We spoke for quite a long time about YouTube boxing because you were one of the influential people, one of a handful of people, I would say, that started YouTube boxing. You're also one of a handful of people that started the Sidemen, the phenomenon that is Sidemen charity football. So we're going to dedicate this episode to finding out. You've got some untold stories. You've got some funny stories. You've got some interesting ones as well, but also some stories that no one would have heard about the organisation of it and what actually goes on behind the scenes to get from an idea to selling out West Ham and raising millions of pounds for charity, which is a credit to you. Well done, mate. So obvious first question, Sidemen charity football, how did it all start?
So I'm trying to think what year it was. 2016, wasn't it? I think, which was a long time ago.
It was
now,
Southampton, the first one.
Yeah. So we're talking about we started to do what we called Sidemen VIP events, where we kind of travelled around. We just sold 100 tickets that were quite expensive, but we put on. We'd take lounges in football stadiums, invite 100 people, and they could just get to spend the day with the Sidemen. So it was quite a cool thing to do, meet and greet events. And then the guys were like, do you know what, we want to do a football match. And then we linked it in and said, well, why don't we do one for charity? Because then more people are likely to get involved. It'll be a bigger thing. And they sent me away to go and look into it. And of course, I live in Southampton. I'm a Southampton fan. I didn't leave the Southampton postcode area. I went straight to St Mary's and said, can we do it here?
Because you're Saints fan, let's be honest. No other reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't frame that to the Sidemen. I was like, look, if we're going to do this, I need to be really close to the venue because I'm going to have to be going back and forward.
Never going to be Portsmouth, was it?
No. That is never, ever going to be Portsmouth. Never, ever going to be Portsmouth. But So I think I kind of probably told a few porkies and framed it to the guys that it's just more convenient, but really I've got to live my dream and run an event in my church.
Fair play.
So we went to see them, and to be honest, there was no precedent for YouTube events then. There was no YouTube boxing. There was no large scale outdoor events.
And
for
you
YouTubers.
personally had never done an event at this stage. So when Sidemen come to you and say you're doing these meet and greets, we want to play football, we want to raise some money for charity, we want to be in a stadium, you are just going with that idea,
winging it,
completely winging it with no experience at all.
Yeah.
So how do you feel at that point?
Do you know what I do? What I do, like, and we'll come on to it as we move on to the kind of history of the charity match, and you'll see it's much more branded now and stuff like that, is because creativity is not my strength. Organisation is my strength, and planning.
That surprises me because you're so heavily involved in the creative with influencers as an agent, with merchandise, with events, with brand deals. So that really surprises me for you to say you don't think you're creative.
No, not at all. Not at all. We make them money. We have I'm lucky that I employ creative people that can do it.
Do it for you.
I know what I know what I'm good at, but equally I know what I'm not good at. And as someone who's ex-military, organisation, planning, precision, timing, etc., is one of my strong points. So that kind of is the main ingredient you need to organise an event. So So I guess through my military background of spending 6 years in the army, the organisational skills and ability to work under pressure and all that stuff kind of leads well to organise an event.
Yeah. So go on, give me the nuts and bolts of it. They've said to you, the Sidemen, we want to organise a charity match. What are you? Give me every aspect of what you are putting on and what you're involved in for that event.
So if we talk about the 2016, the first one. So I go and knock on St Mary's door. As I said, no precedent for events or anything like that. So there's no real. So they look at me and go, "Oh, you want to do a charity match?" We get offers of doing a charity match on our pitch. I mean, you play in a lot of charity matches.
I play in a lot of the celebrity charity. I use the word celebrity loosely because I'm involved in them, but I do play in celebrity charity matches up and down the country with a whole host of influencers, reality people, ex-sports people. And I've heard firsthand that a lot of football clubs do get approached by numerous event organisers and charities. So
their immediate reaction is tyre kickers, especially when I say it's going to be a bunch of YouTubers playing who, again, at the time, weren't as big as what they were now.
No.
So
was that frowned upon then by the club or by people? So not frowned upon by the club, but I suppose was there that unknown quantity that, well, this might not work, or we get so many of these, what makes this different from them?
Yeah. So when I went in and I kind of boldly said, I think we could sell the stadium out, they're like, yeah, whatever.
Really?
you ain't gonna sell the stadium out. So in the end, I found a loophole to make the event at St Mary's because I was desperate just from a personal passion for it to be at St Mary's. And that's, lots of clubs have pitch days at the end of the season. Yeah. So I just booked an entire day. I was like, right, I've got all the pitch. I got the stadium for the day now. Now give me some tickets.
Wow.
So clever. Initially they gave us like 2,500 tickets or 3,000 tickets. I was like, look, I'm going to need way more than that. And they were like, okay, we'll go away and sell them. And of course, we put them on sale and we sold 15,000, which was the very cap that I got them to agree to, even though they knew there was, or in their head, they were like, there's no way this guy's going to sell 15,000 tickets. We put them on sale and we sold 15,000 tickets.
And you weren't able to sell more just to touch on that?
So we had to use our own. I think we used Eventbrite, kind of a third-party ticketing.
Yeah.
So we had to use our own tickets that didn't work on their ticket machine. They wouldn't even do the ticketing for us because they were just like, you're wasting our time. So we had to have unreserved seating because we couldn't sell tickets per the block and the seat because
that's a lot of admin, isn't it? All of that.
Yeah. So and also on the day that we put the game on as well. They couldn't shut the road as well.
Oh.
So basically with St Mary's Stadium, if you go over 15,000, they have to close a few surrounding roads. Yeah. So that's why we went. They said at first, without telling me that was the reason, they said, we'll give you 15,000 tickets for now and see how it goes, because they're like, never going to sell 15,000. But when we sold them out, it goes, right, give me the rest of the stadium. And I goes, oh, we can't. It's like, why? It's like, because you'll be over the limit to close the roads, but the timing of your kickoff is in rush hour, so we can't actually close the roads on the time of the game that you want to do it, and you've advertised it for them. So we were only stopped from selling out because initially, I'm not going to slag them off too much because they
you love Southampton,
because I'm a season ticket holder there.
In the posh seats.
But do you know, any other stadium would have been like it at the time, not really understanding the power of these guys, the Sidemen, and what they can actually
also
bring.
To be fair to Southampton, I've heard that from other clubs that they have to have road closures for safety reasons and all that. So I can understand that if they didn't think they'd do the ticket sales, that there's so many aspects.
They didn't think about the road closure because they didn't think that it would sell out.
Which I understand. What was their reaction though when you did sell 15,000 tickets?
Oh, all of a sudden I was their best friend.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's they were definitely surprised because, like I say, I kind of found a loophole to make it happen by just block booking an entire day on the day that I wanted of their pitch event days, and then from there, basically built that event off the back of the pitch days.
Yeah, and which is clever actually. And what else were you involved in? So that's the sort of the road, the ticketing. Just give me everything else that went into your first event.
Yeah, to be fair, there was so much of that event that was planned so poorly. And that's purely I don't beat myself up over it because there was nothing like this has ever been done before. Even things to a normal football match. I mean, I go corporate now, but but I am a casual fan, and I don't know, when I go to watch Saints v Gillingham a few weeks ago and watch her get tonked, I literally fall in I'd sit in the pub until the very last minute, fall in the ground, watch a game, and then go grab a beer at half time, and then well, normally when it's Saints, I'm out. It's about 60 minutes. Yeah. But even things like the food, they ran out of food about an hour before kickoff because all 15,000 people turned up as soon as the gates opened, and then they all wanted feeding. So, but they'd planned it as a football match, and I'd say plan it as a football match.
It's a different type of event to a normal football match in terms of the habits of the consumers. What you're saying?
Yeah, completely different. Yeah. So, and that was the first learning that I had. It was like, okay, well, this is different. I remember walking in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there must have been maybe 1,000 kids just roaming around at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, do you know what? I went. I mean, thanks, courtesy of you, you invited me to the recent Sidemen game, and I was on air beforehand because I had Saturday social in the morning, so it was a Saturday. Yeah. And obviously, getting from Sky, in West London to West
trek.
Ham in East London is quite a mission. So I got there. I'd still say probably an hour, half an hour before kickoff, but that's something that I noticed, that everyone was in very early, which is not like you would, I imagine, I'm guessing, a West Ham game, like you're saying, people in the pubs, and it's a different consumer habit, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. So there was lots of learnings from that. The merchandise as well. I think we got like 500 Sidemen branded T-shirts made up and sold them in the kiosks. The biggest complaint we ever get is, I couldn't buy merch.
Because it went too quickly. Because that must be so frustrating that you don't have enough to
sell. I know,
sell.
and people genuinely want compensation for not being able to buy a bit of Sidemen merch. The amount over the years, the merchandise, the amount of aggro that it causes you. I mean, I remember at Charlton we tried to cut we stayed on sale foolishly afterwards, thinking, we'll sell merch after the game as well. When you go to cut that queue, there's a lot of riots. So never underestimate angry parents that can't get a Sidemen T-shirt for their kids. Honestly, it's mental. So there was lots of things that we could have done better. The unreserved seating, because the club didn't really believe that we would sell it out, and because they wouldn't let us use their ticketing system, there was unreserved seating, which is why the chaos of pitch invasions, because what that allowed is all bubbles of mates to all sit together and kind of collaborate and move around, and you couldn't really sit anyone down. Where thankfully we had no in-game pitch invasions at the last one, a few idiots while the trophy presentation, but it was but in terms of everything, we worked with YouTube, thankfully, who helped us with the production and brought a production team in. We had Lawrence and True Geordie presenting on it. Yeah. In terms of the players and obviously the kits as well. I think back in those days, I think Adidas sponsored the kits, so they would provide the kits for us, and then we would also buy them to sell to the fans.
So there's a lot going into it. You're talking about the tickets in there, the road closures, the promotion of it, the sponsors, streaming, the sponsors, presentation, commentary, all of that. There's a lot that goes into it. Merchandise.
We had VIP areas as well, so we did that for the first
hospitality, the food, like you mentioned as well.
Yeah. So all of that. So quite an operation.
So let's look at the figures then. I've got them in here. 2016, Southampton, 15,000 attendance. That was all you could have. So you effectively sold out your capacity. Yeah. 500,000 peak concurrent viewers, £100,000 raised for charity. I would look at that as a massive success. How do you, as the organiser, in your first event, reflect on that?
I mean, I was buzzing. I now know and you're a Spurs fan, right? You've probably been in every corner, even of the new stadium, right? Yeah. So you get just being a fan of the football club and being able to work.
I totally agree.
And you know where the changing rooms are, you know where all the backstage bits are and stuff. So I loved it from that point of view. I really loved it, the fact that I managed to get the guys to agree to raise half for Saints Foundation, so a local charity. So Brilliant. For that one, we gave half to Special Effects, I think, and then half to the Saints Foundation. So just being able to say that I raised, not I raised, the guys raised, but Amazing. Part of an event that raised £50,000 for local Southampton charities was nice. The event went really well. Everyone was happy. The after party was horrendous.
Why? What happened?
For some reason, I took them to Switch in Southampton, which is like a real hardcore drum and bass kind of venue and a VIP. So we were just kind of behind the decks, just with this. No one could talk.
With all the Sidemen, everyone's playing, really. Yeah. It seems like this is Stu's dream night. You've planned this at Southampton, the team you support, at your drum and bass night because you like your drum and bass.
I hate drum and bass.
You do now, yeah.
Yeah, no, yes.
Just put yourself first, right?
Yeah, no. But it was good, and it was. I just love doing these events. So I think the nicest thing for me is my mate sorting out my mate's tickets and my mate's kids' tickets, and
at Southampton as well, right?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean by that, actually, because I've been fortunate enough in my role with Sky and everything to do some amazing things and meet some amazing people. But whenever I do something either at Tottenham with Sky or work for Tottenham, I've been so lucky to. I hosted the opening ceremony for the first ever game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was in Madrid hosting all the content for the Champions League final. I do a lot of the player activations with Spurs as well. And obviously I go there with Sky. And whenever I do anything with Tottenham, I think back to the kid in me that was a Spurs fan, that I never thought I'd be anywhere near these players. So I totally know what you mean when you were talking about being in the dressing rooms and being in those areas, because we always think about our childhood, and it's like a reliving of a dream, in effect, because we're never going to be footballers. We're never going to walk out there. It's like the next closest thing, isn't it?
No, exactly. And just to be able, as the event organizer, just to be able to walk around on the pitch. And of course, I'd kicked a few footballs on the pitch while I was there and done a quick penalty when no one was looking. And
Did it go in?
Huh?
Did it go in?
It was an absolute banger, actually. Yeah, it was an absolute banger. I've got it on.
I knew you would. He's going to show it to me.
yeah. Roll the clip.
Roll VT. Why do you think back then? And I don't mean this in any disrespect, because we all know that you are one of the men credited with YouTube boxing, Sidemen charity football. Event organisation is a big skill set of yours. But at the time, you had no experience in doing it. Why do you think the Sidemen picked you to do that? I know that you work on other projects, but why was the faith put in you at the time when you had no experience, do you think?
I just must have made him feel confident by...
Simple as that.
Yeah. I guess we'd already... I mean, they'd come to an event, the Insomnia Gaming Festival, when I was head of sales there, and I used to look after them and make sure that they had everything they wanted, even though they weren't really my remit. But that's how we built the relationship, where they asked me to work for them. So I think it was more of a trust thing, where they thought, do you know what, we know Stu. If Stu can't do it, he'll get someone in that can do it. But also a bit of naivety, when none of us had done events, so so we thought it'd be easier than it was, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose it's the old adage, you regret more what you don't do than what you do. So I think if you'd have not done that, you'd probably always regretted not doing it. And obviously now, proof's in the pudding. Second event, and I've got the figures again in front of me, only a year later, you went to Charlton.
Yep.
So it's 15,000 attendance at Southampton, 27,000 at Charlton, 550,000 peak concurrent viewers, and 210k raised for charity. So you double the attendance, you double the amount raised, more people watching. So again, just it catapulted it to another level.
Yep.
What was the difference between the second game and the first, and what do you put the extra attendance, the extra success of that down to?
I think there was actually... I think St Mary's could have got to 27,000 if we'd had it. I think it would have sold out. I think it took us 3 days to get to 15,000 for St Mary's, but it would have continued to sell. With Charlton on that first one, it just sold immediately, straight away.
What's immediate?
As in that evening, it was sold out. So I think it's like 3 or 4 hours. So I think bringing it to London, so obviously it's a bigger catchment, is as much as Southampton is the real capital city of the world, London's got more people in it. So
you love Southampton, don't you?
I am. I'm a good champion.
We'll be mentioning Southampton on a lot of occasions, no doubt, in this. So second event, again, learnings. What I want to get at with you in these events is, what are the best parts of organising and what are the worst parts? What do you enjoy the most, and what do you hate the most on the day itself, or in the build up to it?
So to me, the most important parts of it, or the most stressful parts of it, are players, friends and family, making sure they all get in safely and get away safely. Luckily, we've never been involved in the production so much, in terms of, for the first 3 events, we had YouTube that effectively funded the production and brought in their production team. So
you're talking about the delivery of presenting, directing, commentary, all of what you see if you're not at the game but you're watching it on YouTube, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. So we've never, and now we have Arcade Media, the Sidemen's management team, that do all of that creative work. Going back to me not being a creative person, and which is why it looks so much more polished on camera now. It's not something. So not something that just where my skills lie. So. To me, it's always getting all the players out, making sure they're in the right kits. For this match, again, that was Arcade Pro Direct kind of sponsored the kits. So an Arcade kind of facilitated that. So it was so nice not having the stress on match day of the players turning up, trying to put on a shirt and going, this is in the wrong size.
Doesn't fit me,
That's the biggest anxiety, I think, of all of them. Because it's like, what can you do? What can you do if you get a shirt and it's just the wrong size?
And there's loads of people watching, as well.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about that is, I'm going to relate to a couple of pods we've done, is that what I find fascinating about you, and why I suppose you're so respected in the industry, is you've said on a lot of occasions, well, I wasn't an event manager, I'm not a creative. I would argue the counter that you are both. But what you've said is, on a previous pod, you never knew about floor planning for a boxing event. So you looked at Matchroom's floor plan and echoed that because you knew it worked. You weren't involved in production, so you got YouTube in to do the production of the event. In terms of the kits, that's not your forte. You got ProDirect in to do the kits. I know that you've improved in terms of the hospitality and the food and the catering on recent events as well. So that's a really important point you make to people watching, that just because you might not be skilled in a certain area, actually utilising what you can do as a person, but gaining people that are experts in that. Has that been a real big part of your success individually, do you think? Actually leaning on people that can do the things that you say you can't?
I think I think the single biggest reason is to be successful in this industry, whether it be the YouTube boxing, the events, or anything else, to be there, is not to have an ego. And to know what you're good at, but equally well know what you're not good at.
I totally agree.
And bring in the right people or work with the right people for the stuff that you're not good at, which is why if you look at our relationship with the Sidemen, you have upload agency with the exclusive commercial agents, but they've got Arcade Media that do their creative and their channel management and their day-to-day management and their IP projects, because that's not our area of expertise. We can't give the same level. If we did the production for the match just gone, it wouldn't be anywhere near as polished as what it is, because we've got Arcade in that are the experts in After Party Studios, which is Calix's production company that run the production. So yeah, I think if you have an ego, then that's when things go wrong. But if you're actually willing to know that there are people that are better at certain things than you and bring them in and collaborate, then it makes for a much better event.
And what are your relationship like with other? You said they're the Sidemen have a lot of different people representing them in different aspects. What's your relationship like with all of those people? I imagine you all have the same goal, but you might have different thoughts along the way.
Yeah, we're it's not always been like that. The Sidemen have worked with one or two different people over the years, and we've been. It's not from my side, but from their side, maybe see it as competition. Whereas where we are now with our relationship with Arcade Media, United Talent Agency in the US have just signed the Sidemen to be their North American representatives. That's in collaboration with us and Arcade and stuff. We're in the same building as them. The Sidemen studios directly below us. The Arcade offices are directly below us. So we collaborate and work really well together, and we help each other, but we also leave each other to do the bits where our expertise lies. So it works really well.
That's probably why they're so successful as well, because they've got experts in so many different fields, all putting in the same direction.
And and all collaborating. I mean, literally, we're out on the beers with them straight after this podcast. So if we could get a move on, that'd be great.
I'm joking. Really good point. He's not joking either. He's not joking at all. Do you actually enjoy the match days? Or is there so much stress that you're going on? I imagine when you put an event on like that, months in the planning for one day. It's almost like a wedding day, isn't it? You spend months planning your wedding day, and then you look at your watch and go, "Oh, it's nearly over. This is a year's planning." So do you enjoy the match day itself?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. I thought I was going to enjoy the one this year.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have Arcade doing the product or After Party doing the productions and stuff for previous ones. So I thought, do you know what? For this one, I can actually chill out a bit. All my work's done. Once all of the players are in, because that was our main remit, was the players, getting them flown over, getting Mr. Beast over from America, which we managed to do. I think he left pretty much straight after. At one point, Mr. Beast was going to fly in and land at 9 o'clock in the morning on match day, and then leave at 8 o'clock in the evening the same day, back to the US. I think he ended up staying for one night in the end, but that gives you an insight into the crazy, hectic world of Mr. Beast.
And the schedules as well of these people as well. I know that you talk about the schedules of the people you look after. I imagine his schedule is just back to back with videos, brands, all sorts.
You imagine that, just flying an 10-hour flight, isn't it? So
I think it's nearer 10, 12, 11, isn't it?
Yeah, 11-hour flight to literally land and then less than 12 hours later be back up in the air and flying back again.
I mean, he wouldn't be in economy, would he, to be fair? He might have, but still that is a grueling schedule, and fair play to him for coming over as well. I want to talk about last year's game, not this one, last year, because you did have a few incidents in this game, didn't you?
Last year it was a bit chaotic.
Firstly, the kits, am I right in saying you were the saviour? For the kits,
the saviour.
This is what he wrote in the WhatsApp to make sure you ask.
No, I did.
I am the saviour. Ask me about this. What happened with the kits?
We did. To be fair, I didn't. I wasn't actually the saviour. Ellie and the printing team at the time were the saviour.
What happened? Tell us the
So
story.
I happened to own a printing company, which was kind of handy. But yeah, basically with regards to the kits, we were promised actual kits for the players that were going to turn up fully branded.
Yeah.
Of course, they turn up a couple of days before. They're just blank T-shirts.
Oh no.
So we're like, okay, we've got less than 48 hours and we have no kits for the players. Luckily, at the time, or unluckily, whichever way you look at it, I owned a printing company, but it lost me loads of money, so I've since stopped it because I couldn't make it work financially. But alas, I had a warehouse in Southampton with printing equipment and everything, so we're literally like, we'll have to make them ourselves then.
So you're just printing like chunks, KSIs,
Yeah, literally
there
just making all of their kits. So putting the sponsor on, the badges, the numbers and names on the back, and we even took up our... going back to my anxiety about the kits not fitting and stuff, was like, okay, but what if one of them's wrong or we've got a wrong number or something like that? So we took our heat presses and vinyl cutters and everything up, and we were actually printing out kits on the morning of the match.
On the morning of the game?
Yeah, in the physio room that we'd set up a little mini workshop.
God, you must have been stressed about that.
So
you must have been stressed at that time.
Which was why when Arcade said, oh, we're doing the kits this year, I was like, get in.
Fill your boots. Can you do tracksuit tops as well? You also had, on a more serious note, some incidents last year with people breaking into the stadium. There was obviously Mizzy, the content creator, which was very well documented at the time. You had some pitch invaders as well. How do you react when that happens? Because obviously safety is the most important thing at an event like that.
It is so annoying that you have these attention seekers that just want to kind of ruin everyone else's enjoyment for the sake of a TikTok that they're going to post or whatever. So yeah, you had Mizzy running around causing chaos, broke into the stadium, broke into the one of the creator lounges, just stealing all the prime, and then running around outside. But Charlton's quite a complicated ground to keep secure. So because it's in the middle of a housing estate, I don't know if you've been there, but it's really tight in a housing estate. So not like the London Stadium where it's the Olympic Stadium, they've got CCTV.
There's long walkways, isn't there, around the London Stadium? Yeah.
So he was building up a crowd, and they're running around and trying to break in here and break in there, to the point the stadium had to lock down. They had to close the exterior gates around the stadium. Rather embarrassingly, I also got locked out of the stadium.
Did you?
So I'm running around trying to work out what's going on. This is during the game.
Yeah.
And they shut the gates to the main car park, and I'm trying to get back in. And there's this steward, and I can't really blame her because they're just told they're quite one-dimensional, aren't they? And I'm like, I need to get back in. She goes, can't come in. I'm like, I'm the organizer. She goes, I don't care who you are. You're not coming in. And I'm literally on the phone to the team. I'm going, you ain't going to believe this. I'm literally locked outside. I'm on the road.
And you're the organiser of the event.
Yeah, and I'm the organiser and the overall person responsible for the safety of everyone inside.
Yeah.
And they just wouldn't let me. In the end, I had to kick and stamp. And it was policed really poorly. There was no need to lock the stadium down.
In fairness to them, though, I mean, I imagine that's a situation none of you wanted. So a difficult situation to navigate around, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, it was, and I kind of get the kind of there's got to be a balance between common sense and safety first, right? And they probably could have got people in a bit quicker, but ultimately most people got in, and the people that didn't, we gave money back to them, which was frustrating because we're not giving them their money back, we're giving them charities money.
Yeah. Is that an important point for you, why that's so disappointing when that happens? Because someone breaking in, it's not just a security issue for those in the stadium.
Yeah.
It affects their enjoyment as well, with the stadium having to be temporarily shut, but also it has a negative impact on the money that can be raised for charity. There's a lot of wider things that people probably don't even consider.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a direct impact of people like Mizzy's behaviour at the game. The charity's got several £1,000s less in money because we had to refund all the people that couldn't get in because of their action. I think people don't when they're doing these silly acts and stuff, they think, oh, it's just a bit of fun, it'll be a TikTok and stuff, and it's like, you don't realise we had to spend an absolute fortune for this one on close protection. We had 24 close protection officers protecting the players.
Did you? Is that solely because of the security risk?
So security risk, we've got to keep them safe. We've got people like Speed and Mr. Beast, and we've got to do everything we can to keep them safe. And these aren't just normal stewards or security guards. These are highly paid, close protection officers. But that's as a result of people before's behaviour. So that's another 20 grand or whatever of charities' money that we've got to spend protecting the players because of idiots like Smithy.
Yeah. So. Let's talk about this year's one. And I said, lucky enough to be there. Thank you. Courtesy you.
We had 1,800 people in hospitality, which are either industry, creators or friends or family. So that's a hell of a lot of people. It was even. I remember at one point James Corden being fussed in front of me, going, "Here's James Corden. He wants to meet Chunks. You're his agent, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm also the organizer of this event. I'm kind of really busy now."
We need to talk about this story more. To explain what happened here.
So I had to go and
so James Corden rings you. Go on, explain.
No, he was brought into the players' lounge by someone. He had one of the boxes.
Right. Okay.
And was brought into the player lounge by someone, and you just kind of, I'm running around and literally
and
I
were
look
busy.
up.
Oh yeah, I saw you.
And there's just this big grinning James Corden, literally like that for me. And then he's like, "It's James Corden." I'm like, "All right." He's like, yeah, his kids love Chunks, and you're Chunks' agent, so can you go and get Chunks for him? And it's like, what do you do then? It's like, I am Chunks' agent. I also happen to be the person organising.
So what did you do?
This event. I went and found Chunks. What can you do?
And Chunks came up, did he?
Yeah.
No,
of
course
Chunks of course. Yeah, I went and found him and said, "Oh, James Corden." He's like, "Oh, cool,
wow.
cool." But
it's interesting that goes to show how YouTube is becoming into the mainstream now as well, isn't it? Because someone like James Corden, desperate to meet Chunks, and that doesn't surprise me, by the way.
And he paid for his box. He paid a lot of money for his box as well. So it wasn't, he wasn't gifted it or anything like that.
Yeah, fair play.
He paid for his own box and come to the event. And you'll see at the Misfits boxing and the amount of mainstream celebrities now that kind of get it.
Yeah.
Or more to the point, their kids are obsessed with them.
I saw it at the KSI Logan Paul fight because I was one of the presenting team there for Sky, and Justin Bieber is in the crowd watching. He wasn't there in a paid capacity, I don't think anyway. He wasn't working. He's just following Logan Paul and KSI, which again goes to show the appeal. Let's have a look at the numbers now. We spoke to you about Southampton 2016, the first game, 15,000 attendance. West Ham this year, 62,500 attendance sellout. Phenomenal. 500,000 peak concurrent viewers at your first game. 2.6 million peak concurrent viewers, I believe I've got right. 100 grand raised for charity, and this is the best figure of the lot. I don't care what anyone says. This is just phenomenal. 100 grand raised for charity in the first one, which is still good. £2.4 million raised for charity. That's got to be what makes you the most proud of anything that you do with these events.
No, it's 100%. The ability to be involved. The ability to be involved in raising that sort of money,
changing people's lives.
And just play. I mean, ultimately, it's not. It's the players on the pitch that are selling the tickets, but just to be involved in that is it's the best part. 100%.
Do you think back at that? Because I know that you brought your family up, your little one, and everything, and you went to a hotel afterwards, and you were manic the few weeks before I couldn't even speak to you or anyone. Do you sit back and reflect on that when you see those numbers with your partner, with your family, and go, "Wow, do you know what? That's really proud what I've helped create with regards to that money raised for charity and the amount of people that had smiles on faces on the day." Did you actually give yourself a pat on the back after events like that?
Yes. But immediately, and we're already thinking, what do we do next year?
Yeah.
And it goes on to that because I think the real time is when I come to kind of retire from this industry, should we say?
Yeah.
In a few years'
then
time.
You'll look back. Yeah.
And then I think I'll look back at everything and I don't know. And this is something for another. But I'm not I wasn't born in with a silver spoon or anything. I had in my 20s. I left the army and kind of bounced around in low income jobs, minimum wage jobs and stuff, and living in bedsits and until I was about 30, 31. So there's not been, I've had such a weird kind of trajectory to being able to do this. I'd never have thought as a 30-year-old that I'd be putting on events with my name above the door for 63,000 people and raising 2.4 million. So it is, for a number of reasons, it's a good thing to look back to. And I'm really proud of it. The experiences we had have been amazing.
Yeah, incredible and well answered when how you said that as well. People like Mr. Beast, Speed, and how do you get them involved? Is it just a case of they know how big these events are? They're mates with KSI, they're mates with Chunks. Like how do you get the biggest influencers, not just from the UK, but from America as well.
I'd love to say that I had anything to do with all the players, but I have no influence whatsoever.
Really? Yeah.
The only influence I can claim a little bit of credit by Billy Wingrove because they hadn't and Mark Goldbridge because they hadn't decided the managers, and we kind of done the assumptive, you need managers again this year. So I'll take a little bit of credit for that. But generally speaking, no, I'm nothing to do with influencing Mr. Beast to come over. That's all of the Sidemen.
Because they're mates with him and have a relationship and everything like that. Yeah. Can you give us an insight into the cult status that some of these people have? Because I was there witnessing it, and obviously seeing them, even just seeing the players leave the players' lounge, and I mean, there's a real cult status to these individuals, isn't there? I mean, my point is, these games can be as big as you want them to be because people, I think, will always flock up to them.
We had 180,000 people online trying to buy the tickets for the
180,000.
Yeah, so we could have sold Wembley out twice, probably 3 times if you allowed for the other tickets. This is actually online trying to buy the tickets when they went on sale,
and they sold out in
straight away. It was a couple of hours, but it was only a couple of hours because the people kept going in, which always happens. Yeah. And holding tickets and then going, Mum, I've got a ticket. Can I buy it?
Yeah. So I think it was 90 minutes is the official line, wasn't it? But that's only because of the process, effectively.
But everyone was there. But it was only because lots of people were coming in just holding tickets and they were dropping back out. So it would have, if the system allowed, it would have sold out instantly.
And tell us about like the organisation of this event and maybe some things that we don't know, what goes on behind the scenes. You mentioned the security aspect there with the players. Like, give us an insight into what goes on behind the scenes for this particular game that we might not know.
Yeah, I mean, there is meeting after meeting after meeting. It's not a case of you do hire the stadium, you hire their security, etc. But this is a unique event for the London Stadium. So you're meeting with the Met Police, the anti-terrorism police, the local council, the organisers, etc. There's a huge amount. From when we first did it in 2016, we just wouldn't be able to do it all on our own this time for an event of this size. Even things right down to the branding, the trophy, the medals for the players, and there are so many facets to it, which is why collaborating with After Party and Arcade on it is the only way that it can happen. But yeah, we've got to choose the team hotel. We've then got to we send the friends and family that are a bit known to the team hotel as well, and we've got coaches for 200 people that we're taking away from a secret location to get them into the stadium safely, because there's no way in the world that even Bazinga's mum, Ruth, she can't walk from Stratford Station to the stadium to go and watch the game because she's a celebrity herself.
Really, yeah.
And she's known herself and she'd get absolutely mobbed. So there's a real operation, which is my military background gets a buzz from. There's a real operation of getting them into the stadium safely and getting them out safely. But yeah, there's so many things, even down to obviously the weather. We weren't planning for. It was nearly 40 degrees.
The hottest day of the year,
bowl,
wasn't it? I believe.
yeah. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh crap, we need we need to have water breaks. And then we're like, have we got enough water? And we're just piling waters. But then we're literally running around Waitrose and Sainsbury's getting isotonic gels and things like that, and all the other things, and sun
Are you
creams.
physically doing that, or have you got a team of people doing that?
No. Do you know what? Sam and even things like one oversight, Captain's armband. Sam Owens, who's one of the directors for Arcade, is literally running around Westfield getting a captain's armband for Bazinga because I think probably our fault, hadn't asked Pro Direct for them. So one didn't turn up in the package. We're like, oh my God. But we're like, it's Bazinga's home stadium. He's captain of the Sidemen. He's got to wear that armband. So one of the directors is running around Westfield to
Luckily, the stadium is right next to a massive shopping centre. You can get whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, a lot.
And that's always the thing with events. It always feels like when the event finishes, going back to what you say, when you go and reflect, I sit and wait for about a week and listen to everyone's feedback and comments, and especially when the Sidemen's family message me or take time to WhatsApp me. Harry's dad messaged me and said, "Oh, thank you so much. This was the most memorable event for all the right reasons." And Ethan's family are saying, "Oh, thank you so much, Stu," and stuff. So that's when I started to go, okay, we've cracked it. Until I hear their feedback, that in the nicest possible way, it's almost more important to have the feedback from the Sidemen's parents than it is the actual Sidemen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's if they have a good time and they think it's a great event, I kind of know that the lads have as well.
Yeah.
And also if they tell if Ruth and Ethan's mum tells Ethan, "Oh, Stu really looked after us."
Yeah,
Ethan's going to be like, "Thanks."
Yeah.
So
I love that as well. That you have that relationship, and hearing the operational side with the family is really fascinating to hear. Who decides who the captains are, who the commentators are, who's on what team? Like, how does that all transpire? Is that Sidemen? Is that you? Is that how do those conversations?
No, that's
go?
all the Sidemen, and they normally leave it to the last minute to tell us, to give us as much of a challenge as possible.
Keep you on your toes. I like that. I like it.
Yeah, no, I think Mark gets to Mark Goldbridge gets to pick the YouTube All Stars starting 11.
Yeah.
But even that is we get them in, and then they're into the changing room, straight into their kits, and then we've got to green screen them all to do the old Sky Sports turning and face.
Yeah.
So that gets done literally before the game. Once they're inside the stadium, so at like an hour before kickoff, they're queuing up and doing their green screen.
For people that don't know, that's the green screen when they do the team lineup. So they do it on a chroma key, and then they reveal who's playing where. So that's done in the morning itself.
Yeah, at the stadium an hour before kickoff.
So all of that is it's basically Sidemen and the managers will decide teams and all of that. Yeah. Ethan, I imagine, West Ham fan, playing home stadium. It was just
Simon's normally the captain, but I think because home stadium, and he scored first, which is great, which I missed.
Amazing.
Because which I missed because I had to get Faith and Olive from upstairs and bring him down so he could walk Olive out. So I was getting Faith and Olive back up to the players'
So did
lounge.
they miss his goal then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so some of Ethan's family missed his goal.
Yeah. Faith and his
it was
his
early, to be fair, wasn't it? Yeah. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions on all the games to get your thoughts on it. Best goal ever scored?
Oh, I don't know. Chunks scored a good one last year.
Chunks, Philly both scored bangers, didn't they?
Mini Mint had done a halfway line one. I think it was at St Mary's, wasn't it? That was good. So it'd be one of them.
One of them. Best moment, proudest moment being involved in these.
Ooh. It's got to be announcing the 2.4 million this year. Yeah, over everything. Yeah.
Worst moment or any regrets? Would that be looking back on the first one? And did you say you didn't have enough merchandise, food? Is it more learnings in terms of?
Yes. I don't look at that. I mean, everyone had a great time. I don't look at that. I look at that as do you know what? We've no experience whatsoever. We put on an event for 15,000. We were never going to get everything right, so to speak. So I think probably. I don't know. I do know. It's probably the second event at Charlton where the attendance was half.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. The second event at Charlton was half the attendance of the first event at Charlton at a later date. So why was that? I
think at that time there was a few things happening. I think there was a bit of complacency from us and from the Sidemen themselves. Hopefully they don't mind me saying this. But the way we promoted it was very half-assed. I think we'd done so much. There was boxing going on. There was the diss tracks, this, that, everything else was happening. And I think all of us were just a bit kind of fatigued. So when the event was announced, with these events, your day one sales shapes your event. You don't, with other events, you can start with, I don't know, if it's a 10,000 capacity, you might sell 500 on your first day and then you'll sell 100 day two, blah, blah, blah. And you'll trickle to a sellout. You have to sell out or almost sell out immediately on these events because you have to build the hype online and then people will buy.
So you build the hype before you put the tickets on sale. Yeah. That's the plan.
Yeah. And then your day one sales will shape how many people will go to your event. So I think we were just all a bit complacent. I think we literally just announced it in a Sidemen Sunday as an integration.
Right.
And some of the lads, I don't think even tweeted that tickets were on sale. It was very. I think in hindsight we probably should have waited a year before going and doing another event, and that's the only reason I think. It's just purely I think everyone was a bit fatigued and not fully focused on doing the event that year. But it turned out to be a great event. Yeah. And obviously the next one sold out.
Yeah, and you know what's coming next? What is next? Having sold out at the London Stadium at West Ham in what you said was hours or under hours. Where do you take it now? Because surely, do you go to Wembley? Do you go? What is the plan? Can you reveal anything?
I think in terms of overall events, so Sidemen have already kind of talked about it a bit, that we're looking at other events away from football and kind of interim events. They have their own charity that they're setting up, and how can we do more smaller events with a charity match maybe as a flagship event. In terms of where it goes, it could stay at West Ham. There's nothing wrong with it there next year. But look, we'd all love it at Wembley, right?
Could that happen? Is that a realistic possibility? Is that something
I think it's realistic. I think it's realistic. It's yeah, of course. That's the first thing we talk about in the change room. It's like, well, Wembley next, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether or not we decide to do it, there's a lot to consider. It costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds to hire out a venue.
Yeah.
I don't even want to guess what it would cost to hire Wembley, but I would imagine it would be £1 million plus. So you've got to look at it from that way and say, this is supposed to be a charity event.
Yeah.
We want to maximise the income for charity.
Yeah.
Do we want to blow all the money on a huge stadium, or do we want to hunt around and get the best value to make the most amount of money?
Yeah.
So and a lot of that again depends on sponsors as well. If we get sponsors, it's still supporting it and supporting it early, it kind of underwrites that and makes it a bit of an easier decision. But personally, I'd love it to be at Wembley.
Would you sell Wembley, do you think? Do you think it'd be a sellout?
Yeah.
100%?
Yeah.
And you're basing that just on the fact that 180,000 wanted tickets for West Ham. So you only need, literally half of that for Wembley, isn't it? 90,000 capacity.
Yeah, no, and the fact that it's Wembley, it will build the buzz. And I think as an event manager or an organiser, you've got to be pessimistic. And I've always been pessimistic. I never thought that the Sidemen would sell out, or we would sell out the Olympic Stadium deep down. I always put a brave face and go, but you've got to be pessimistic, because if you don't, then you'll mess up.
Yeah,
you've seen with the kingpins in these in social gloves and these other boxing events where they've obviously got way over gone way over the top in their estimations and forecasts on how well he'll do something, and then you haven't got the money to pay anything. So I always much prefer to be the negative one and go, I don't know if we're going to do this, but I think we can sell out Wembley.
Yeah. And other plans going forward? You're saying there's other events Sidemen are working on, obviously with the following that they've got and that you've built up as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose the world's their oyster in terms of what they can do and what they can sell. Any other events in the pipeline that that you're talking about?
We're talking about a darts event.
I think quality.
Yeah, so but even that we're speaking with PDC and kind of could we do something there? But the thing is when it comes to collaborating or whatever, the guys we've always from the start on all the events that we've done, and what I've said to the guys is we follow the Red Bull model, which is basically if you look at Red Bull, they don't tend to sponsor things, they own things,
right?
So they, rather than sponsor a car and call it Red Bull, be a headline sponsor of Red Bull Racing, for example, that's their team. That's part of the Red Bull group. So they're like, we're not going to sponsor it. We're going to own a Formula One team. And that's the model that we've always done with the Sidemen, is rather than go to the Insomnia Gaming Festival, it's like, let's build our own called Upload and do it there and do it on our terms in the way that we want it. Rather than play in Soccer Aid, for example, or play against Soccer Aid, etc. Let's build our own version of Soccer Aid for us, that we can dictate the rules and have it exactly how we want it. So, I think there'll be more events in the next 12 months. Yeah,
we're going to see you lace your boots up for any of them. See what you got in your locker.
I need to lose a little bit of timber first.
You're looking well. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's a cuddly. If we do wrestling or something.
I'd like to see this goal at St Mary's, mate, that you...
it's an absolute banger. It's an absolute banger.
Stu, absolute pleasure, mate. I look forward to getting you. We get back on again some point and get more of an insight.
I love waffling and chatting. I'm much better at being asked questions than I am asking questions. And that's what... people will see when I pop up on podcasts, sat beside you, interviewing people. I kind of sit there awkwardly because you're too polished for me.
I don't know about polished. It's a good point though. You do appear regularly as a co-host as well. Obviously, you're involved in this project as well. So
more to the point, sitting awkwardly next to you whilst you fire all the questions off.
I hope I didn't make you feel awkward, but you do pop up. It's great to have you regularly on this pod. Thank you for your time, mate. And we look forward to the next Sidemen charity match. Cannot wait for it.
Cool.